The UAW and Ford reaching a tentative deal to end the nearly 6-week strike with the automaker. And joining us right now with his reaction is Jay Timmons. He's the National Association of Manufacturers president and CEO. Jay, how do you see this? Is this good news, the strike is settled, or is it bad news because it's settled with some pretty high wages and other things that have come into play?
Well, look, I think it's great that it is potentially settled and that we're going to be able to continue to make things in America. The strike was particularly difficult, I think, for smaller manufacturers who are part of the supply chain, perhaps unionized or not unionized. They were hit pretty hard, and we heard from so many of our members that they were making pretty tough decisions, right, to either put production on hold, lay off workers, perhaps even chill some investment decisions that they were making. So we're happy to see that there's forward movement.
Smaller manufacturers, even if they're not UAW shops or union shops, are probably going to be pressured to raise wages. Can they still be competitive?
I think we're going to have to see, Becky, how this all plays out. Clearly, there are cost pressures when it comes to wages, but I think we also have to think about what is the overall cost of manufacturing in the United States, and how does that impact our ability to compete around the world? Wages, salaries are certainly one factor. Regulations are another, and in fact, we were releasing a study today that talks about the incredibly expensive cost of regulations in the United States. So all of those things on a manufacturer in the United States puts a lot of pressure on us.
You all put a number of $29,000 per employee per year as a cost that your manufacturers are seeing because of federal regulatory burden. What does that mean? What federal regulations, and
so
how do you figure out a dollar on it?
It's $29,000 per employee per year. We've just updated our study, our regular study that we release. The inflation-adjusted dollars go from about $2.1 trillion of total economic burden for the regulatory structure in this country to about $3.
What are the regulatory? What are the regulations?
So you think about every single regulation.
Like what? Just name them. What costs
this? So you can
this?
think about regulations that come out of the EPA. You think about labor regulations. Some of the regulations that are being talked about right now are not even included in this study. So the SEC Scope 3 regulations, for instance, or the tailpipe emissions, or the PM 2.5 rule coming out of EPA. All of those are part of the regulatory morass that's coming out of D.C. Those, though, are not part of this study. This only looks at 2022. As of 2022, all the regulatory burden.
But what's the biggie? I mean, there's need for some regulation. Other regulations seem silly. So what is a regulation that you all deem being unnecessary and expensive? So
let's look at where we are right now with this administration and what they're starting to talk about, or what they're trying to put out. Business is not at the table. We're not having conversations right now. For instance, I'm going to the PM 2.5 rule.
Which is what? I don't know.
So that's particulate matter, and it's the amount of particulate matter in the air. Everybody wants cleaner air, obviously. Well, the way to accomplish that is through manufacturing innovation and making sure that we're able to produce the equipment that will make our air cleaner and reduce some of this particulate matter. But the rule that they're talking about and the potential number that they're talking about could put 40% of our country in what is called a non-attainment area, which basically means we can't invest in manufacturing in those areas. That's not
power plants
counterintuitive.
What's the main the CO2? That's not. They're not doing that now because of there was
talking about ozone, I believe.
No,
ozone
I'm talking about CO2. They're not doing that now because I think a court decided that's not pollution
at this juncture. But
yeah,
there
might
are
come
other.
Back. Because I don't think anyone would argue that you need regulations for particulate
matter. Exactly.
Matter. I mean,
but we have pretty strong regulations in place.
But power plants, it may come back with a vengeance. The CO2.
It could well.
The CO2.
It could well, and it's also being implemented or imposed in other areas. So you think about the SEC and their Scope 3 regulation, kind of forcing folks to come up with data that, frankly, is not accessible. So a lot of these regulations don't make any logical
permitting
sense.
in and of itself, permitting regulation, you can't really do anything.
Think about what we're trying to do with chips here in this country, and all of the inputs that are needed. Right now, we can't access those here in the United States because we can't mine them. It takes 15 years for a permit, to your point.